Hey everyone. So I want to set this up so that things run a little more automatic with our consensus nodes here. So you typically don't want to have a consensus node because this is something that's probably important to you. If you're running, your own private net, you don't want to have to be opening up 4 PowerShell windows, going to each one, opening the wallet, typing in your password, typing start consensus every time you reboot your computer. Bit of a pain. Right? Same thing if you were to actually have your own consensus node out there and running. Do you want to have to type in, to manually do this step? If the server reboots in the middle of the night, someone manually has to log in and do this. So there's a nice way to do this. I think this is actually fairly new because I have not seen it before, is the config.json actually has this unlock wallet option in it now. So I've just gone to each one and put in /node1.json, password test, start consensus true, is active false. So the is active flag, I'm not sure what it does. I would look into it, but I have to go to work soon. But here, we're actually starting this up as a consensus node here. If you were to make this into production, you may want to put a hard-coded path in here instead of a relative path, because you're probably going to use some sort of scripting tool to start this up, and what its working directory is, I don't know. That's up to you again. Just a little thing to consider here. So I'm going to bring all these PowerShell windows back up, which I have exited, and we will try this out. So .NET neo-CLI, .NET neo-CLI, .NET neo-CLI, .NET neo-CLI. So we've got the 4 up. And we're at 13 blocks, and we're starting to connect to peers. And hopefully we will start to see new blocks, but maybe we need that is active flag set. Okay, let's try that. Or maybe it's just taking some time to get the consensus going here. Yeah, we're still at 13 blocks here, so I'm going to try and restart few of these here and see if we can actually get some blocks going. We've still got nothing, so let me dig into this for a minute. Okay, so got that working through a little bit of struggle here. So it appears the neo-CLI I was using was 2.7.0 and was having a bit of issues with that not working properly, so I upgraded it to the latest, which is 2.9. And I had to do a little messing around with the configuration file here. So in here before, the default had a application log folder, but it also needs this index now, so I had to add that in there. It is binding this WS port as well on startup now in the CLI, so it is now using this value, I guess. And because those were all using the same number, it couldn't bind it because I'm running on localhost, so I incremented this. So this will be 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, and 3.7. I did put in the full path in here. I'm not sure if that will be an issue or not. That was just part of my testing. And I did have to look at what this is active flag in there. So I read through the source code, and the is active is whether or not this value is used at all, it looks like. So if this is set to false, it won't even read this in. With all that being done, all these files saved, I restarted each one of my nodes here. And it just sits here without a prompt. I can't interact with it. But, you know, I had 13 blocks at one point. Yeah, now I'm up to 27 already. So that's a nice new feature on here. There's another way that people have been doing this, and that you can see in the Docker image. And maybe I'll just bring that up here and give you how people have been doing that on Linux. So let me bring that over here. Oh, I killed Docker. One sec. Sorry about that. Forgot I killed Docker to make sure I didn't have any conflicts with ports and things like that. So here I'm running the neo-privnet Docker image. And you can see here, if you look at run.sh, uses the screen command to create the 4 nodes. And it does that by calling the start consensus node.sh and passing in a few parameters. So the first one is the path to each node. The second is the wallet, and the third is the password. And you'll see here the start consensus node goes to each one of these, goes to the path of the folder, starts the Neo CLI. It does enable it with RPC, which we didn't do, but you can. Waits for it to say prompt with Neo, basically sends the open wallet command, expects a password, sends the password. So this is basically a little shell script that is interacting with it like you would typing things in. So that is one way to do that here. So if you're running an actual consensus node, you probably want to be very sensitive about the wallet and the password. One thing you could do if you are paranoid about things like that, like I am, is you could have some sort of process that generates this file, this config.json with the path and password in it, start up your Neo CLI, and then delete the file off the disk so that it's only there for a second to let the Neo CLI start up, would be one way to do that. You could do the same thing with this too, is you could run this start consensus node script or something similar to it and delete the file off the disk after. So that way you're kind of minimizing your exposure of that password. But eventually there's some sort of secret in there that, you know, knows how to get this, knows how to run this script. The password is somewhere, so make sure you're careful around permissions on those kind of things. But that is getting a consensus node up and running. That's the big thing. If you were to do this in a live environment, things are a little bit different, is that you start up a node, you do start consensus on it, and then people have to vote you in, right? So you do have to stake, what is it? You have to stake some Neo, I believe, and then you have to be voted in to be that. So I know that voting process is still evolving at this point here to allow other people to be nodes. For right now, you can just put the validator, your public key in that I want to accurately call it what it is, standby validators list. So that is getting a consensus node up and running. Questions, comments, leave them below. Thanks, everyone.